Okay, good day, everyone. I'm Eugene Sosing, originally from the Philippines, currently based here in Brisbane, Australia. I'm taking a Master of Development Practice at the University of Queensland. I'm one of the working committee members of this student forum. Together with me is Hanna Macinate from Western Sydney University. Hanna, if you want to say something.
Oh, yeah, my name's Hanna. I'm a member of the Student Forum Organising Committee along with Eugene. I study Humanitarian and Development Studies at Western Sydney University. I have a double major in Humanitarian Preparedness and Response and Human Rights Protection and Development. I'm excited to be here and would like to thank you all for joining us today as well. And I'll hand it back over to Eugene to introduce Sally.
Okay, so this part of the session is entitled Latest in Development Research. The session will cover abstract presentation of the research conducted by two students from the Asia Pacific region. The abstract presentation will be chaired by Sally Babidge. Sally Babidge is a senior lecturer in anthropology from the School of Social Science at the University of Queensland. Dr. Babidge is currently the program director of the Master of Development Practice program at EQ. Her research expertise is in the fields of environmental and political anthropology, with current research focus on the socio-ecological effects of the lithium and copper extraction industries, sustainability and corporate social responsibility programs in Northern Chile. So please help me welcome Dr. Sally Babidge.
Thanks, Eugene. I'm really pleased to be here and to have been asked to chair this session. We were set to have 3 speakers, and perhaps Jo Doyle and Leyna will join us. There must be technology issues coming up, but we're very lucky to have with us Wilma Molus and Thomas Hukahu. I hope I pronounced your names okay, at least. And Wilma and Thomas are both going to speak about their research in as students who have received Australian Council scholarships for their research. So I think without further ado, we'd love to hear from you first, Wilma, especially given the connection issues where you are. And then following on from that, we'll pass over to Thomas. And I believe the session will hear from you each for around 10 minutes. And then we'll move into a question and answer session. And some of those questions, if they come in via chat, Eugene is going to help field those questions. And I'm looking forward to hearing those come in. So now over to you, Wilma.
Thank you. Can you be able to see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I have introduced myself earlier. I'm Wilma Molus, and I'm a PhD student with Queensland University of Technology, but currently I'm studying offshore due to COVID-19. While on the field, when collecting my data, I couldn't return back to QUT because of the closure of the borders. So I was forced to remain in PNG and do offline studies from here. Okay, so the title of my presentation is The Story of Resilience by Awagasi Market Vendors in Leyte City, Papua New Guinea. In this presentation, I will share some of my work on the urban indigenous communities and its public spaces, particularly the market space in the urban centers in Leyte City. So on the photograph of my first my third slide rather, you'll see the Awagasi market, which is the site for my research. This market is a community market located within the informal settlement communities in urban Ley City. So this market space is used by people who hail from different ethnic and cultural groups in Papua New Guinea, perhaps from the 4 main regions of Papua New Guinea. So they use this market space to generate livelihood activities for their survival in the city. And it is strategically located in a sense that it becomes the connection from the urban informal residents to the rest of the Ley City. And it's also located along the one of the main road that links to major
Hi, everybody. Let's just be a little patient and wait for Wilma's connection to stabilize. And perhaps if it doesn't stabilize, we'll move on to Thomas and come back to Wilma. If the connection doesn't stabilize, let's see how we go. Technical people, can you give us an update on where we're at? Oh, here we are. Wilma's back. Wilma, you were perhaps.
Yeah, I dropped off.
Yeah. If you'd like to continue, please do.
Fast, yeah, a bit faster. So this kind of attention actually, limited the perception of the market vendors who use these spaces, on a daily basis, on how they create mechanisms that they use to address issues of law and order. And also this kind of perception limits the history around those spaces. So therefore, my research aims at capturing and sharing the perspective of the market vendors on how they create governance systems and structures within the internal space, and use those mechanisms and structures and systems to address law and order issues in the absence of, or in the limited presence of law and order or governance, formal governance entities. Do I have to share my screen again?
I think you will. I think you will have to share the screen again, Wilma.
Oh, man, okay, no worries. Sit. Oh. Is it all right now? Okay, all right, so just a little bit of the context of informal markets in Papua New Guinea. But I will give a brief view into the trade in colonial and contemporary times, Papua New Guinea. So there was a web of exchange that existed prior to PNG's independence in 1975. And the trade was quite complex in nature, I would say. And of course, doing trade in PNG, it's a bit, remains extremely challenging because of its, geographical features, and also, well, in some parts prior to pre-independence, in Papua New Guinea, in some parts in PNG will have less contact with the outside world, and also the rough geographical features that limits transportation and accessibility of people to sell the produce in other centers, or especially in urban centers. So, and that remained one of the key constraints and also having to have limited, I would say, exposure to outside world. And many of them are still living in tribal groups and in Papua New Guinea, and in dispersed hamlets that are, hamlets that are spread across mountains and valleys. And with clusters of languages, I would say, because Papua New Guinea is a diverse country with 100+ languages. And at the time, there was no opportunities for professional marketing. There was no professionals, there was no emergence at the time. And many of them were molded into traditions of pre-colonial history. So there were a variety of forms of trade that existed in PNG prior to PNG's independence, such as the ceremonial presentations and non-ceremonial gift exchanges, and we have the barter systems, and also the exchange of commodities that existed. Those are forms of exchange that existed during the pre-colonial times. So these forms of trade were, like, I would say, they were independent in nature, because the trade was between a specific ethnic groups, between specific communities and villages, and also they were intertwined in a sense that, or interconnected as well, in a sense that the trade has to begin between two groups of people, or two groups, or within two communities or two villages. So there was also, evidence of regional exchanges as well, such as the coastal exchanges between the coastlines and the riverine areas. And also inland communities would trade with the riverine people, exchanging sago and fish, and forgotten food and marine products. And I would say the trade in the colonial times were more, I would say, ecological. There was ecological diversity. It was based on ecological diversity, because they used those, marine products and agricultural products to do exchange. So, but, in the contemporary market context, I would say the market is now, the transaction is now between more than two groups, whereas in the pre-colonial trade period, is exchanges just between two groups of people, or two villages, or two regions, let's say. So the emergence of market in Papua New Guinea emerged alongside with the World War II urban growth. And during the time, the cash were placed into the hands of the people, where they were many of them were least dependent on the purchased items, but they obtained their goods and products from the sea and from the garden. But during the time of World War II, many of the markets started to emerge and also expanded along with the urban growth. So the appearance of and then you begin to see the appearance of local trade stores, and people begin to, conduct, trade, then contribute, and that contributes to money to the market, to the expansion of the market. So many of these markets were operated informally during those times, and eventually it becomes regulated by the colonial administration. So as the urban centers grows and expand, there was the need for fresh produce. So that saw the emergence of trade happening at different locations, particularly along the streets of the urban centers in Papua New Guinea. So market also became the the main avenue, rather the main venue for social and political agendas, and many of them use the space to, promote their political agendas and interests, as well as social interests as well, and economical interests as well. So, and many of these markets have become the indigenous phenomenon, and have largely increased in their size, in the capacity, and as in their regularity, as well as in their diversity. So in Papua New Guinea now, markets now become a grassroots enterprise, especially informal markets now become a grassroots enterprise, and is created and inhabited by the grassroots, the ordinary Papua New Guineans. So within those informal spaces now, because due to the interdependency and of the informal markets from the state and from the formal government, and having its establishment on the informal, on the customary land, many of these informal markets are excluded from formal city planning and the provisions of basic human services, such as the health and hygiene, water supply, paved road network, electricity, and many other, human services that the people need, the human need. So many of them, I have said earlier, have received very limited attention because of these because of the location of the establishment of the informal markets. Therefore, many of them have received limited attention from the government's formal interventions from the government, and also in terms of limited attention in terms of the formal interventions from the government, from the governance entities. So therefore, the vendors, the market vendors who use the space are challenged with safety and law and order issues because of the limited support in terms of the governance supports. So many of them are, experience issues with law and order and safety issues in the market space. So, but however, within the market space itself, people are resilient, and market vendors are resilient, they're proactive, they're hardworking, and they're also creating mechanisms such as the governance mechanisms, local mechanisms that they harness and they use to address social issues in the market space.
I wonder if I just need to give you a 1-minute warning.
Oh my God. Okay. So
we just need to. Thank you.
Yeah. So so that gets me to look into capturing the perspective of people and how they, market vendors, and how they create their local governance mechanisms. So I have used 4 research methods to collect my data. That's focus group discussion, storytelling, interviews, storytelling, and interview, storytelling, and photo voice research methods to collect my data. But all the research methods that I have used to collect my data was underpinned or grounded the indigenous values of respect, reciprocity, and what's the other one? And relationship, because the research was conducted in an indigenous urban community, and these values are very much integrated into our knowledge system and also into our way of life. So I have ensured that these my research activities are foregrounded around those indigenous values. So the first governance mechanism that my study revealed was relationship. So a relationship is created and sustained, and in Melanesian PNG, market is central to identities, is central to our belief system, and also to central to our the values of relationships. So therefore, the market is sometimes impersonal in nature. So the users at the market, at Awagasi market, hail from different parts of Papua New Guinea. And what they do is that they create relationship by sharing resources, whether it's knowledge or whether it's, it's monetary goods. They share that to create relationship among themselves. So this is one of the quotes that I just included from the quotes from my participants. So the other governance mechanisms that the people harness, the vendor group harness in the market, social capital and social network. So the relationship that has been sustained and created linked to the social capital and network obligations and as well as reciprocity. So it is through this trade that people connect themselves to wider network rather than limiting themselves to a genealogical linkage. So the social network becomes a web of relationship that they draw solidarity from, and as to achieve governance outcomes. So that's one of the quotes from the participants on social capital and social network. And then the gendered leadership also is a form of a local governance mechanism created by the vendors to achieve law and order outcomes. So well, at the margins of the market, at the margins of the urban informal settlements, gender leadership is very imminent. So both men and women play roles of leadership in making sure market and the nearby community is peaceful and orderly.
Hi, everyone. It seems that it seems like there's been another break in Wilma's connection. It's just an absolutely fascinating area of research and body of research that Wilma's been telling us about. And perhaps in the Q&A, what we'll do is we'll ask Wilma to return to her final slide, and that will give her a chance to conclude her study if she can, if Wilma's connection can be regained. If not, then I'm sure that you will have a chance as participants in this session. We'll have a chance to connect with Wilma via the contacts that are available on the WOVA conference website. So I really encourage you to do that. I'd like to move on now to Thomas Hukahu, for Thomas to present his research. And Thomas, if you could keep as close as you can to that 10 minutes talking time. Thomas is associated with both the University of Adelaide and the University of Papua New Guinea. Thomas, are you there? And would you like to start talking about your research?
Kelly, I have just 2 slides. I can just conclude it off. So,
Wilma, I wonder if I could get you to just hold on for perhaps it's hard to know because of the connection, right? So perhaps what you can do is just jump to the final slide and just finish off your presentation, and then we'll move on to Thomas.
Sure.
We're just a long way over time, so
sure.
we just really need to conclude. Okay, that's all right. It's such fascinating material. Please do conclude, and then we'll move on.
Yeah. Okay. So in conclusion, despite having to receive, such limited attention on infrastructure and the governance developments in urban informal markets, which poses, challenges of safety to the vendors. So this study had revealed resilient ways that the market vendors create local governance mechanisms to achieve safety and security outcomes, such as the mediation committee. So this study does not tries to it does not intend to undermine the existence of the role of the key government and law enforcing agencies in the urban space, but rather the study proposes that a better understanding of the vendors from their perspective and the local structures and the systems that they create can make the government, to support, at the same time go into collaborations with the existing systems the indigenous urban communities have to support safety and productivity in even that, limited attention and limited support and resources available to support the people, the citizens and the people living in the informal urban communities in urban centers in Leyte City, but also as well as in Papua New Guinea. Thank you. That's about that.
That's wonderful, Wilma. Thank you so much. And congratulations on such a fantastic study. There are a couple of questions coming up. There are a couple of questions that have been posted in the Q&A, but we might move to them at the end if you can hold on until the end for those questions. Jo Doyle, it seems that Thomas is also having some connection problems, and we might leave him till last. And we will move now to Jo Doyle and Leyna. I've scribbled your name. I'm sorry, Leyna.
Hello, everybody.
From the Australian Council for Educational Research, who are going to tell us about this fascinating study that they've done following up on the Australian Awards alumni contributions to the COVID, to addressing the COVID pandemic. So pass it over to you. Thanks. Oh, great. Yep, we can see that. Wonderful.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Jo Doyle, and this is my colleague Leyna Clarke, and we work for the Australian Council of Educational Research. And today we're going to talk to you about our latest research that we've just released through DFAT in regards to COVID responses from Australian Development Scholarship alumni. So first of all, we're going to give you a little bit of an overview of the Australia Awards. And I'm going to talk to you about our facility that we work for, which is the Australian Awards Global Tracer Facility. We're going to talk about a little bit about evaluating the long-term outcomes, collecting evidence, and then we're going to talk about alumni contributions to sustainable development that we've discovered through our research. We're going to talk about our most recent annual Global Tracer Survey and our case study, which we recently conducted using a number of examples from alumni who are working in the field. And then we're going to conclude. So I'm going to start. So as many of you would be aware, the Australia Awards is a scholarship program designed to support partner countries progress in their development goals and have positive relationships with Australia that advance mutual interests. The provision of higher education scholarships is done to help emerging leaders build capacity through technical knowledge, soft skills, and networks. And it is in line with 4B from quality education and the sustainable development goals. So Leyna and I work for the Australian Awards Global Tracer Facility, which is a world first initiative for DFAT. It's an 8-year research project. We conduct alumni tracing and engagement, and we use a mixed method approach to collect relevant data on the impact of Australia awards and predecessing scholarships on alumni, their communities, and the greater impact on society from partner countries. We do this by an annual Global Tracer Survey and in-depth case studies. And as I mentioned before, we work for the Australian Council for Educational Research, and we're based here in Melbourne, but we have offices all over Australia and other countries in the world. Sorry. Okay. So what our job is to evaluate the long-term impact of Australia Awards on alumni. So if you are actually currently on an Australia Award now, you may hear from us in a couple of years to find out how, to assess how you are using your skills and knowledge and networks to contribute to sustainable development in your country. We're also interested in understanding cooperation between Australia and partner countries and finding out about partnerships that are built through while you're on award, and also how Australia is viewed by alumni and how Australian expertise is also viewed. How do we do this? Well, we conduct a mixed methods approach. Each year we run a global tracer survey, which is where we collect data from a huge population of Australia Awards alumni, and we report against the long-term outcomes of to see, we get a big overview of what's going on with our alumni across the world. Then we identify themes which we go to explore, working with our partners DFAT to identify areas of interest. We conduct a number of case studies, and we are able to dig deeper into the data through those case studies. We have found through our research that many alumni are actively involved in contributing to sustainable development goals. And in our most recent Global Tracer Survey in 2020, we asked our alumni to identify areas which they are involved in that are contributing to sustainable development. And we have found that over 40% are involved in education in some way. Many are involved in helping to bring about gender equality, and many are also working in health and wellbeing. And we're going to dig down into the health and wellbeing side right now, and Leyna's going to talk to you a little bit about our research that came off the 2020 survey.
Thank you, Jo. So the survey also included questions around alumni involvement in the COVID-19 response. So this survey was in field from November to December 2020, which is after many countries had experienced the first wave of the pandemic. The survey data found that 46.8% of alumni had been involved in the COVID response in some form. These alumni worked in different sectors, different fields of education, and were involved in various types of responses and had different roles. So around 1 in 10 alumni were working on the front line in areas such as healthcare and vaccine development. Over half were involved in providing a secondary response through support and infrastructure to the community, which includes education and communications. And around 1 in 6 alumni were involved in policy making and intergovernmental response. And in order to drill down further into the data, the Global Tracer facility selected 8 alumni from different countries, regions, and fields of education to conduct in-depth interviews about their involvement in the response. And 3 of the alumni that were interviewed are featured in the next few slides. This is Dr. Tran from Vietnam. Dr. Tran was able to use her master's in public health, as well as her extensive career in the public health sector, to contribute to multiple sustainable development goals for the Western Pacific region. Through her work with the World Health Organization, Dr. Tran has been contributing to the goals of good health and wellbeing by taking on the role of acting regional emergency director with the World Health Organization and coordinated the initial emergency response in the Western Pacific region. And she's responsible for disease control programs in 37 countries and areas in the region, which consists of 1.9 billion people. Along with her current role, Dr. Tran was also asked to lead the vaccine rollout in the region and is coordinating the COVID-19 vaccine working group, which supports member states in the region to develop national deployment plans of the vaccine. As part of this work, Dr. Tran is contributing to the development goal of reducing inequalities by ensuring fair and equitable distribution of the vaccine across the region. Dr. Tran also maintains formal partnerships with Australian institutions and collaborates on research projects in various health fields. Among many, she is currently partnered with the University of New South Wales to work on COVID-19 modelling and with the Black Dog Institute around mental health. And this is Mr. Pattay from Papua New Guinea. Mr. Pattay utilised his Master of Applied Anthropology and Participatory Development to contribute to education in Papua New Guinea. He contributes to the goal of good health and well-being through his work as a social development specialist for the World Bank's Rural Services Delivery Project. The project contributes to educating rural communities about COVID-19 through embedding public health information as part of its activities. Mr. Pattay's role is to support the project management unit at the Department of Provincial and Local Government to roll out the collaborative infrastructure building project to 5 provinces. He has also contributed to the development goal of quality education during COVID by providing technical support on online survey and questionnaire design for the National Department of Education as part of the UNICEF COVID-19 Education Emergency Response and Recovery Plan. The plan was designed to ensure education in PNG remained safe, accessible, and continuous during the pandemic. The work Mr. Pattay has undertaken working with vulnerable and isolated communities, providing education around COVID-19, has contributed to the goal of reducing inequalities in PNG. He highlighted the importance of communication skills and cultural competencies learned from his anthropology degree when speaking to different communities and clans to ensure information was understood and distributed. Next, we have Ms. Nangele from Bhutan. Ms. Nangele used her Master of Counselling to become the first Bhutanese clinical counsellor in the country and has continued to contribute to the development in Bhutan. Her contributions to the development goal of good health and well-being during the start of the pandemic involved her being part of the 6-member National Mental Health Response Team to create a response plan and provide frontline mental health support. She provided 24-hour crisis mental health and psychosocial counselling to people who called a hotline during Bhutan's first lockdown. And after the lockdown was lifted, Ms. Nangele found people were still calling in and is now training volunteers and other frontliners in psychological first aid to help manage demand. As the program leader and lecturer in clinical counselling, Ms. Nangele has contributed to the goal of quality education by creating the clinical counselling program at Bhutan's Medical University and is currently training students to be counsellors. In order to reduce inequality, Ms. Nangele has presented at regular webinars on a volunteer basis about mental health and counselling along with her colleagues. The webinars aim to provide information and reduce the stigma around mental health so people are able to get the help they need. And I'll pass back to Jo.
Oh,
We missed a slide.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're missing a slide.
That's okay. In conclusion, we'd just like to say that the Australia Awards Global Trace Facility is collecting some wonderful evidence about Australian development scholarships and the impact that they are having on alumni and their countries, especially improving human resource capacity to respond to national and global emergencies like COVID-19 pandemic. Alumni are sharing their skills and knowledge with others to help communities adapt to change, restore stability, and strengthen essential services in response to COVID-19. And Australia Awards alumni are continuing to contribute to a range of sustainable goals. If you are interested in any of our research, we are happy to hear from you. I've listed our email addresses there, and you can also look online via the link to DFAT to see a little bit more information. We have over 5 years of reports on there from many different countries, including PNG, Nepal, China even, and please have a look at our research. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Jo Doyle and Leyna Clarke. Thanks for that. It's a fascinating report, and it's available online. If there's a link in the program, if people want to have a closer look at that, it indeed is a fascinating report. I have a couple of questions for you, but what I might do, we have 2 quite different presentations. One in terms of research from Wilma on her PhD research, and there are some questions that have been raised for Wilma, And we might go to those first and then follow up with some questions for you two that will give people time to think of some questions for you, although I have a few myself. Indeed, it's a great report that you've told us about. Can I ask Wilma if you would perhaps jump on the screen? There is a question for you. I wonder, there was a question about your methodology, Wilma, but the person who asked the question asked it before you then talked about your methodology. So that was answered really beautifully, and your Indigenous approach to research that focuses on reciprocity and relationships was exactly the answer I think that person was kind of looking for. The other question that was there for you was about the impacts of contemporary informal markets on the health of grassroots. I wonder if you can address that question just really briefly. I see that Thomas has rejoined us, and hopefully we might have 5 minutes of questions, Thomas, and then we'll finish up with your presentation.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Yeah, well, informal markets are usually built on customary lands, on customary land, and the formal government does not have any say in bringing in developments or in any form of transformation on the land belonging to the people, owning by the indigenous group of people. So they are banned from bringing in developments. So in that context, many of the market infrastructure and facilities established on the customary land have limited infrastructural support or facilities, or some markets not at all, where they lack proper market housing, market building, or they lack water supply running into the market area. So from that picture, you could see that it posed a lot of impact on the health of the market community, not only the vendors, but the general public who are accessing the market to, for trading purposes. So of course, due to the lack of improved market infrastructure or in terms of water supply, some markets, informal markets in Papua New Guinea do not have water supply at all. So what they do is that they have to collect water from the nearby household and use that to wash their produce, or to clean their produce, or to clean themselves. So it has, in fact, the informal economy has a lot of impact on the health of the people, simply because of the lack of infrastructure such as water supply that hasn't been accessed or connected or installed into the market areas, informal market areas.
Thanks. That question, I forgot to say, that question came from Rose Begani. And perhaps, Rose, if you have any further questions, you can link up with Wilma via the WOVA platform. There's a possibility for doing some chatting across that platform. If you feel like, for me, the question about the health of the grassroots might also be a question about the health of grassroots networks. And Wilma, given your really interesting research was really about market vendors and the kind of governance structures within for law and order issues, we might take Rose's question about the health of the grassroots also as about the kind of health of those networks, social health of those networks. But anyway, that's just my my reflection. I think we have just enough time to ask Thomas to talk about his research. I'd hate for him not to have the chance to do so. And so if everybody can have a little patience and perhaps pop some questions for the other presenters into the Q&A while Thomas is talking, and indeed Q&A for Thomas as well. Even if we run out of time for the chat Q&A, then that can happen via the platform. So Thomas, would you like to have these last 10 minutes to talk about, you're a journalist, to talk about your work there. Oh, you've got your mute. You might need to unmute.
All right, I'll share my screen.
Perfect. Thanks, Thomas. And I'll just give you I'll sort of say hello at about a 1 minute mark. Okay. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this presentation. I am Thomas Hukahu. I am an Australia Award Scholar and a postgraduate media student at the University of Adelaide. My topic is using social media to motivate and inspire our people. I have a subtitle for this presentation, and it is using social media to educate and motivate the women's soccer team in the PNG Women's National Soccer League. The power of social media. Social media is a very powerful tool. It is used in business, politics, education, and sports, among others. Knowledge and skills and information that are available can be passed from someone to an audience via social media. Social media can connect the privileged with the underprivileged. As in our case, we in Australia are more privileged than those back at home, who are more like the underprivileged. In social media management theory, we learn about the importance of social media monitoring, social media listening, and the power of propinquity as being present on social media for one's audience. My presentation is actually about how social media contributed to the success of a women's team back in Papua New Guinea. The women's team participated in the Women's National Soccer League in the 2020-2021 season. There were two conferences in the PNG Women's National Soccer League. The Northern Conference had 8 teams, and they were playing most of the games in Leyna. The Southern Conference had 6 teams, and they played most of the games in Port Moresby. The format was such that the 2 top teams in each conference would go on to play in the semifinals. The club that I assisted with social media roles or responsibilities was Civic FC. Civic FC, or Civic Football Club, originated from Civic Province, which is my home province. The men's team made their first appearance in the 2008-2009 season, but they didn't enter the National Soccer League again in subsequent seasons because of all sorts of reasons, including financial issues. The women's team made their appearance in the 2020-2021 season, and that is the team that I worked with, as well as with the management, the coaches, and the board. The women's team comprised of teenagers and students, so it was a young team. Okay, let me say something about myself just to give a little bit more context. I like football, or soccer as it is commonly known in this region. I played the game as an under-13 and under-14 schoolboy, and then as an adult, I played in different amateur competitions. I also managed and trained teams. In the last formal job I had was with an under-15 schoolboys team in Port Moresby. Today I follow the FIFA World Cup matches and also the UEFA Euro tournaments. I watch those strategies or tactics that different teams are using to win their games. and sometimes I discuss with my friends and other football fans on social media. Today here in Adelaide, I also film AFL matches on Saturday afternoons in the different suburbs of the city. I came on to help Civic Football Club as a volunteer. I kind of joined the social media team as a volunteer media and communications officer, bringing with me the experience that I had in journalism and football, in working with different people and other things related to football. And of course, I also knew some of the key people in the management team, and they included Gordon Torevu, the coach, Derek Myra, who is the head coach, and then Clarence Hukahu, who's related to me. He happens to be the general secretary. I used the privilege that I had as a student here, access to information and online sources and stuff like that to share information, tips, and post-match analysis with the management as well as the players back at home via social media. The two young team managers also frequently posted updates on social media about the team's progress. Let us now look at the progress of Civic FC in the season. On December 5, 2020, the women's NSL season started. In Game 1, Civic FC drew with Markham Ranks 1-1. In Game 2, Civic FC was beaten by Barra FC 1-2. After Game 2, I watched the video of the match again and made a few comments as part of my analysis. Let's look at the video now.
An opportunity for
So after watching the video of Game 2, this is the comment I made as part of my analysis. The midfield department has to step up and set play for Shalim Jackie, number 5, and Johnny Guster, number 9. I truly believe that between them, they can score 4 to 6 goals per game. They have the potential. Feed them. I should make a point here that before this video, I had never seen the Civic FC girls play. After the Game 2 loss, the Civic FC players sat with the management and they looked at the different strategies they would use to help them play better in the remaining part of the season. And that was when the winning started. In Game 3, Civic FC defeated Tusbab Lydemon 3-1. In Game 4, Civic FC beat Granny 6-1. In Game 5, they beat Tusbab 4-0. And in Game 6, they defeated Morbid Tulip 5-1. After Game 6, the big game was to be against Poro FC, which was the leading team in the competition. So far, Poro was undefeated and had a good number of very experienced players in it. We all expected a very good game against Poro. However, the result was Game 7, Civic FC was defeated by Poro FC 4-0. The outcome was not what we wanted, so there was more talk, more discussion, and the team identified possible causes as to why they didn't do well. After Game 7, Civic FC came on a bit more stronger, and here's what happened. After Game 7, Civic FC started to win again. In Game 8, Civic FC defeated Markham Rhymes 3-0. In Game 9, Civic FC beat Barra FC 5-0. In Game 10, they beat Tusbab Lydemon 4-0. In Game 11, they beat Brainy Lay 2-1. In Game 12, they defeated Pacific Gardens 1-0. And in Game 13, they beat Morbid Tulip 12-0. The final match in the tournament, which is Game 14, would once again be against the leading team, Poro FC. The coaching team and all people in the management did their best to prepare Civic FC for that last game. When game 14 started, it was as if both teams, Civic FC and Poro FC, were heading for a draw. In the 18th minute, however, the more seasoned side, Poro FC, scored the first goal and led. Would Civic FC come back and score? As you have seen, the result of the final match was a success in itself. Game 14, Civic FC defeated Poro FC 3-1. It was a great way for Civic FC to end the maiden season. I now make a few points to show Civic FC's success as a club. In the maiden season, the Civic FC women's team won all the games, drew 1 and lost 2. Both losses were in the first round of matches. The Civic FC women's team also became a semi-finalist in the season, the maiden season. 8 of the players were selected for the national train-on squad. Some of them were students. It was indeed a success for everyone, the coaches, trainers, management, and board. A number of goals were achieved in that season. On 27 June, a couple of days ago, we were informed that the Civic FC's men's team's bid to enter the NSL in the 2021-2022 season was successful, and the young players are excited about the news. And that is it. That is how a young women's football team succeeded in the maiden season and achieved a number of goals. With contributions from some of us, me as a social media officer who was operating 3,000 kilometers away. You can do the same to help other people. And if you want to do so, here are some of my tips. I'm going to be using a sports team as an example. So here are the tips. Start a Facebook page or join a group and contribute. Provide short tips or strategies depending on your experiences. Post news related to the games. Congratulate them on their wins. Encourage them on the losses, but point out the weaknesses they should work on. Interact with fans in a sensible way. Keep on social monitoring and social listening roles and act appropriately. Be present. Remember the power of propinquity. Get administrators to ban or mute people who promote the wrong kind of things, and provide other things as you may see fit. Thank you very much for watching this presentation. And this is the end. If you have any questions, we can have them later.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Thomas. If you could unshare, that's excellent. So I haven't seen any questions for you yet. We will, we're at time, but we will hang around for a couple of minutes so people have a chance to ask questions. If you could put them in the Q&A, then please do so. I wonder if I could address a question to Jo Doyle and Leyna Clarke. Just a question about your report, that fascinating report. There's a real focus, I mean, an obvious focus on health. Do you think that this is where development programs and development training, development programs, and therefore also training for development workers, where this needs to go, that there needs to be more emphasis on the kinds of, I guess, soft skills, as you refer to them, in development training, relating to health, soft skills relating to health in relation to development training?
That's a really good question. This particular case study did capture a lot of people in the health field. They weren't all health, but I think soft skills are vital. What we found from the 5.5 years that we've been working in the field and collecting data is that we found that soft skills, no matter what particular sector you're from, are really, really important, and they give you the amazing ability to work in any kind of industry. So I do think for development in particular, soft skills are very, very important. Things like leadership and being able to communicate effectively are so very, very important. And the intercultural skills as well that we've seen. So actually studying in Australia gives you an experience of working or interrelating with a diverse network of people. So if you come from a monoculture and then you go to Australia and you have this study experience and you meet lots of different people from lots of different cultural backgrounds, and then you not only international students, but Australian students, Australian lecturers, people in business, and then you go home, then you're more likely to be able to work, say, for example, in the development sector with people from all over the world, because you have that that intercultural competency, which is so really, really, really important. And we see that a lot in our research. That's one of our top skills, that soft skills that we see coming through. And I suppose, yeah, definitely in health, it helps a lot, because we interviewed a wonderful person from Nigeria, was the doctor, Dr. O, yeah. So he in particular, he did a master's of public health, but he runs a hospital, and he has to communicate with so many different stakeholders, and then he has to apply for grants, and he has to do lots of different things. So those kinds of skills that he developed on a ward are so vital when doing his work, which is not just running a hospital, it's training staff and it's working with aid agencies and things like that.
Wonderful, thanks so much, Jo. There's a question for Thomas, if I might move. We're jumping around a bit, but this is how it is. I might just move to a question. It's from Anam Afzal, who wants Thomas to talk a little bit about, and if I can ask you to answer as briefly as you're able, about how do you feel, how you evaluated the social motivation impacts that you talk about, Thomas. Is there any framework that you use to evaluate the motivational impacts that you talk about?
Yes, there is a little survey that I had carried out. I had the assistance of people back at home, and I didn't present because of the time limitation, but maybe I can make it available if anybody wants that. The interesting thing that I noted, like some of the things that I was trying to look out for, was how my contribution in providing tips, information, and stuff. I saw that the management, the trainers, as well as the coaches, many of them are younger than me, except for the head coach. So they took things from me as if like I was the more experienced among them, even though their experiences are higher than mine in the sense that they are operating at the National Soccer League level. So their feedback from that survey told me that they appreciated what was given them. And also, you know, comments were made at the end of the season, how important those tips and whatever feedback we were giving the team.
Thanks very much, Thomas. Can I ask if there are any final questions for the panelists before we wrap up? I'm sorry that we have to do so quickly. We're a little bit over time, as I said. Any final questions people would like to raise before we wrap up? It has been a very diverse session. I'd like to thank all of the panelists, Leyna Clarke Jo Doyle, Thomas Hukahu, and Wilma Molus. And I'd like to encourage the other participants in the session to to follow up with speakers afterwards, send messages over the WOVA platform with any follow-up questions, and engage with one another in the networking events if you can. So I'm going to pass back now to Eugene or Hanna, who's going to wrap up. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. I'd also like to say a big thank you to the presenters and to all the attendees for your active participation in this event. And if you'd like to continue your discussion with Wilma, she will be attending the networking event at 4 p.m. this afternoon. The next session, though, Introduction to Working in the Aid and Development Sector, will start at 1 p.m. and it'll be hosted by the Australian Council for International Development and will facilitate a great panel discussion about getting into and working in the sector. So I encourage you all to take a break, grab some lunch, and be back at 1 p.m. for this panel discussion.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.